What is this phone or this book means without you? Nothing. It's all about human capital. So today we'll talk about knowledge capital, social capital, emotional capital, but on the other hand we have robots that could replace you in this world, and also we must talk about inflation because it's also a disaster for us. So about all these problems for human capital we'll talk with a great economist, Jaroslav Romanchuk. Yaroslav?
Honored to be with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about human capital, inflation, and whatnot.
Yes, so, and I just remember that I am Daria and welcome to Introvise, and we are talking today about the human capital. So, Yaroslav, we have a post-corona crisis impact on our economy. We have many problems with inflation in US, and also on the other hand, many experts say that robots will replace us in different fields, for example, financial and so on. So what we have now for the 2022 with human capital?
Human capital is a broad definition, and of course, robots, artificial intelligence, whatever technologies you mean in the fourth industrial revolution, humans cannot be substituted. Human brain, human power is like thousands of times more powerful and complex than any most sophisticated computer. That is why no matter what we think about substitution, let's say in the fourth industrial revolution, the disappearance of 75 million jobs would come with 95 million new jobs. So, and unlike in the 19th century, the most important, valuable form of capital is not land, is not machinery, is definitely human mind. That is why we definitely should focus on how to shape it, how to educate it, how to make it flexible, how to make it smart, how to make it feasible in the years to come. That is why in order to be ready for fourth industrial revolution, for the new labor market, for the global economy in general, you definitely must think about human capital and must focus on human capital.
But what do you think about these figures? So that, for example, yes, according to JOLTS, between April and September 2022, more than 24 million Americans quit their jobs. So what impact of this process we have on human capital? Could we talk about it today? What figures we could now have?
People react to incentives. If there is incentive to get money for nothing, staying home and doing different things and valuing leisure and family life more than going to work, then people would do that. This kind of shifts in employment in America means that there are different incentives involved, COVID, post-COVID, and people were paid not to go to work because of that epidemic. Right now, things are going back to norm. At the same time, we definitely face the situation when labor dictates term of employment. That is why I think that in the near future, like 12, 18 months, the labor market in the United States will stabilize, and inflation under 4% is one of the lowest in history of the United States. It definitely is very close to natural unemployment level. And what people should do right now in terms of being employed online, being employed on distance mode, that means that people who possess skills that can be used by different corporations on different modes, right, definitely can make much more money. At the same time, when I heard the number of a truck driver, annual wage is over $110,000. That means that definitely America is a very lucrative place to work and to make money.
So what about these figures that I stated? So 24 million Americans quit their jobs in 2020 when coronavirus started. But what we have now,
it's again,
did it stabilize?
The situation in the last quarter is that American economy is very close to 1.5% GDP growth, which is very low. The forecast is about 4 or 5% GDP growth, and unemployment would be about 4 or 5%. So like we have 20 million people quitting jobs. At the same time, we'll have the shift when like 30 million would start working. whether they will start working in one place or another, it doesn't matter. And there's also thing about statistics. Statistics always record something that happened in the past. But the thing is that American economy definitely has very good dynamics. Recently, the Senate and President Biden signed so-called America Pact over about $4 trillion stimulus bill, which covers infrastructure, which covers many, many things, including also IT sector. And that, according to policymakers, should drive the American economy much higher.
So before you said that so workers, they could rule, the market.
They dictate terms for
yes,
the market.
They could dictate these terms. So what companies should do right now to make this life, at work for workers more comfortable and so on?
The work now is not about machinery. It's not about just, making money and that's it. So the whole atmosphere, the whole environment, working place, should be attractive. Social perks, different benefits should be part of the game. Like if a company wants to attract people to a state where there is a huge deficit of labor, so they create different incentives. Relocation costs are covered, insurance is covered, education for kids is covered. So there are many, many things that are involved if you want to lure very high-skilled people, both blue-collar workers and white-collar workers. And that is why, for example, right now America is opening up even for engineers, for people with PhD degrees from Russia to come and get permanent residence there. Because that's why in order to prepare such a person, you need to invest like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if people are skilled like that, what America offers is security, safety, prospects of going up the ladder, and definitely making a very prosperous and very satisfying life.
Are you sure that you said about Russia? Maybe.
Yeah, Russia. I'm not talking about Ukraine. Is definitely part of the Western world, and that is why it's natural that Ukrainians are invited there. But even Russians, in this case, if they are equipped with the knowledge, if they represent this high-valued human capital, they can be interpreted, they can be considered for being part of the U.S. labor.
Yeah, but I know that corporations, for example, such as Google or Microsoft, they also, they usually hire millions of people who are the best employees in the world, so they could propose these benefits you said about. But what about not big companies? They couldn't afford it, so how could they, just take this, just to manage it?
Well, America is famous for its venture capitalism. A lot of startups, a lot of billions of dollars is spent on startups, on different initiatives, ideas, and those who give money for venture structures, they do not expect to deliver immediate results. So it's like, big guys like, with football, for example. You have top-notch clubs like Bavaria, you have Manchester United, you have all these big guys, big names with billions of dollars. And of course they can buy the best players. But the beauty of capitalism in America is that there are all these openings. If you look at the Fortune 500 list like 20 years ago and now, they are absolutely different. Or the first issuers of Fortune or Forbes in the end of the 1980s, only 25% of entrants still are there. So that's a big, what Schumpeter called creative destruction. That's what we are facing, and America is famous for it.
But also, U.S. facing one more problem, not only U.S., but in other countries also. What I could say is that corporations, yes, they had the best employees, I said it before, but what we have on another side, so we have this, strategy when people work in any, corporations and companies like Google or Microsoft, they make the best for their employees as they can. Yes, but when they quit this company, people looks at them like, oh my God, what did you do? So it is the best mistake in your life. But sometimes these people find their own place in their life.
Yeah, they set up their own companies, they go on, they are tired of being part of this behemoth, that big corporation, that's normal.
Don't you think that it's too much human capital in these corporations? So they take the best from
That's
all.
why it's like, if you want to get the best products like Apple, like Google, like Facebook, whatever, the reason they are the best is that the best human capital works for them. That's normal. But again, if you are a big company, profitable company for a long time, then you tend to be lazy, you tend to lose touch with reality, and then you guys emerge. And that's what, again, when you have the freedom of entrance to the market, then you are not immune from the competition. And when there is competition, these guys, like for example, somebody from artificial intelligence area or virtual reality or whatever, even electric cars. So they can work in one company, then they quit, they set up another company, they find capital, and here it is. We have not only Tesla, we have another guys, which, for example, in Time magazine was considered to be the most innovative company in America.
But don't you think that sometimes they just couldn't do this decision to quit this company? So companies, this corporation, do everything that people don't quit and don't create their own companies. But when it was, could be, more possibility for them to quit this job, they could create more companies, people. So there will be more competition on the market.
That is why HR specialists are so valuable. The HR guy or psychologist in a big corporation is somebody who makes a team building skills, talking to people, keeping them satisfied with everything. It's not only about work skills and everything. So that is why, human capital people, HR experts, professionals are very valuable. They are in the world of human capital as the most valuable form of capital, definitely the people who know the guts and brains and souls of individuals, of high-end individuals, I would call them, definitely are worth a lot. That's why they make millions of dollars working for corporations. Sometimes, if they do not know how to manage ambition, how to manage growth, how to manage wealth, then mistakes happen, and that's why we have splits in companies, or even of the best friends fall apart, like Bill and Melinda Gates, they fell apart. Jeff Bezos with his wife fell apart. That happens. That's what life is all about.
So what trends of human capital we could constate this year, 2022?
The biggest trend, which is part of the long-term trade, is definitely to be ready for emerging new technologies. We are in the first 15, 20% of the integration of fourth industrial revolution technologies. That is why you should know what they are up to. You should know how you can capitalize on them, monetize your business. You should know about the trends in productivity. You definitely should focus on labor, on human capital from different regions, to be as multicultural as possible, to multilingual as possible, to be definitely equipped with IT skills, soft skills. It's again, when you talk about the beauty or the market power of a corporation, you think about the organizational structure, management, workforce, or people who work for the company. So branding corporations, branding products that this corporation makes, produces, and branding people who are there. So you can be the HR star of the market working for whatever, Google or Facebook or whatever, or you can be the best IT engineer in the company. So there's so many different outlets there. And so if the company knows how to brand them, how to get the best use of them, that's the beauty. And there are ratings of the best employers in the market. And it's very prestigious to be on that list. And that is why there are different forms of stimulating, of urging companies to invest in people, so that employers are not only on the payroll, They are stakeholders and stockholders of the companies as well.
Yeah, but you said first of all about technologies.
Yep.
Don't you think that technologies could rule people, not people rule the company?
It's a myth. It's Luddites, people who hated machines in the past. There are people who hate change in general. The only permanent thing right now is change. That's why we had for like hundreds of years, we had this notion, creative destruction. Now we have the notion disruption. And disruption is so multi-level right now. You have technological disruption, you have energy, you have also green technologies of all sorts, you have financial disruptions. That is why the only thing you should learn if you want to manage and govern human capital is learn all your life. One, education does matter. Second, education does matter. You have to learn. The only thing that you must get from school is get ready for lifelong learning. It's a new concept for many countries, but America is one of the leading forces there.
Yeah, but there are also reports about the machines that could, replace people till, I don't know, by 2025.
It will never
just
happen.
40% of all human capital could be replaced. So could you give me arguments why it couldn't be happened?
There's a well-known economist, Malthus, who said that the planet Earth wouldn't handle more than 1 billion people. Now we have about 8. And that's all these fears and phobias about the world won't be able to handle so many people. Technologies, the productive use of resources, including human capital, is enough for the whole world. That's a big harmony and balance. That is why in order to technologies, they do not just destroy new jobs, they create new jobs, the jobs that require skills, that require communication skills, not only hard skills, but soft skills. And that's a beauty. You have America, you have 80% of GDP created by service sector. You have industry that changed the nature so much that about 40% in every industrial good you have services. So you have to be not like the guy who has screwdriver and makes something with your hands. You have to be part of a bigger, not machinery, right, but bigger architecture, which the modern production place is. That's why, no matter what if you really want to think in terms, okay, that's my place, I was born here, my parents were born here, I got a university degree, so I will spend all my life living here and staying there. That doesn't work. You have to be ready to move from one place to another, change 8 locations, 5 jobs, 5 different areas of expertise in order to be flexible and have a satisfying life.
Yeah, that's why we have a lot of, processes of migration. There is one more tendency about migration, that some people migrate to another areas, so there is, a problem with the balance of potential of one or another region. So that's why I would like to ask you what we could do here. For example, maybe there should be some governmental programs to, to make this balance of human capital in different regions.
Well, it's definitely, the whole world is a competition. It's like a football field where you can play, right? If you do not create conditions for your people to work and realize your dream, implement your dreams, go and dream and make your dream come true, then people go and look for other locations. So it's not only about, first security and safety, definitely basic needs that are necessary. You have to have infrastructure, you have to have education, you have to have normal working conditions, and then, of course, financial infrastructure. And that is why, and in this case, you can compete with some American companies, you can work for American companies being in other parts of the world. If you look at the stage of the world production 50 years ago, America was occupied a different place. Its place in, for example, export was much bigger than right now. So the world is not like a set up, prescribed pie which cannot grow. The whole world grows and the wealth of America grows, and now it's about $25 trillion. So in the economy of 25 trillion, you have about more than 330 million people. And again, the employment less than 4% means that even like 10 or 15 million illegal immigrants, America is a very attractive place. So if some countries believe that they can have free secondary and higher education, and they can force people stay in their countries, they're wrong. Because America is like a big magnet, because it doesn't force anybody to come to America, but it creates very good conditions for becoming prosperous and rich within one generation. And that's the beauty of the American market.
If we take in account, some policy makers, yes, and what they could do, for example, for instance, yes, banking and financial services employees, factory workers, and office staff, we will similarly face the loss of their jobs in a few years. So what can policymakers do in this field?
Listen, there are like global value chains. There are companies which are called lighthouses, which they are the best in their areas. And they locate productions worldwide in order to manage costs, to find brain power somewhere, to find unique technologies or resources, in order to, and according to some research and estimates, about $5 trillion will be shifted in the near future. So if a country, apart from outside America, wants to be part of this big game, and again, we're talking about real demand, about $5 trillion.
What US could do, what governmental programs could be
Governmental
there
programs
so
in
to
America,
boost this human capital?
Government's role in this situation is limited to very basic things that happened in America 100 years ago. Social security, safety, competition, free trade, no wars, and I think that it should think about the bigger or higher standards in educational competition. Right now we have high schools and university level which has a lot of drawbacks. We have to think about housing market in a different way. We have to think about healthcare ways in a different way. Because right now a lot of these areas are still poorly managed, and that's why there's a big a student loan pyramid, $1.5 trillion debt pyramid in the student loan. Healthcare, absolutely screwed up sector in America, which is where about 18% of GDP is spent. Definitely, if there is more education, more competition there, more different standards, Americans will benefit, and workers of from different areas, high income workers and low income workers will definitely spend less on this, and investing more in human capital, in their research, in their skills. That's what is necessary in America.
Yeah, and if you are talking about education, so as a type of human capital, there are a lot of critics by experts about education and the Biden bill, and they argue that human capital is increasingly the only kind of capital that matters. And they said that it's should be allowed to companies to write off investments in workers, training, and other investments in people, and so on. What do you think? What is your opinion about that?
That's about taxation system. If we have this rudimentary Marxism, personal income tax and corporate income tax, which must be abolished altogether, that is definitely, there is a big question about costs. Are investment expenses part of cost production or not? And one of the arguments is that big government guys support is that it's not. It's up to every individual guy to decide how he spends his money. Education is his own value. Other people definitely think that corporations are definitely more incentivized if they can have this kind of deduction. So if you are my employee and I'm a billionaire, big guy, I employ you, I send you to a college, I send you to different training courses, I invest into you, and that's part of my investment, part of my cost structure. Definitely that should be part of the game. But I would urge to overhaul taxation system in order to avoid making such decisions in the first place. Because it's up to me to decide, and it shouldn't be you can get incentives wrong if you think about this, okay, cost production, how much, what is the percentage, how much could I give you in order to train you properly into my business. And that's all, a lot of subjective decisions are involved. That is why in order to avoid subjectivity in treating costs of production, education expenses, and taxation, you must, get rid of this tax. This tax it ruins normal production structure and human capital incentives.
Yeah, but these companies, they make profit on, on this. So they invest in their workers, and they could make more money out of more money than they invested before.
The beauty of division of labor is that if I make cars, I don't need to own a university or a training course. I can hire experts who provide me those services. I buy those services.
Yeah, but they need upgradation
it's up to
their potential.
No, that's why I think that in the end of the day, the idea to the cost of production should be like everything. Like in one of the countries that includes even pictures on the wall that increase your productivity is Denmark. So if you have a picture on the wall and it's beautiful, it stimulates my creativity, makes me happier, that's fine, that's part of the cost of production. But in different countries, tax inspectors are not happy about this kind of interpretation. That is why in order to avoid subjectivity in interpreting taxation, you must abolish such taxes altogether. And I definitely believe that we should decentralize educational systems, both high school and university level, and make it's no longer valid. So have a university, state diploma, all of those degrees, Of course, there will be hierarchy of different universities, because right now information is available to everybody. So we living in a different place, not in America, we can get as much access to information as somebody in New York or Washington or San Francisco. And that it shifts more responsibility on the level of individual rather than a corporation.
So if we talk about, cooperation and competition between countries, so for example, China and US, how do you think, is there any competition between them?
Of course.
For human capital.
Human capital, definitely. China benefited from being part of this partnership with the United States. Hundreds of thousands of Chinese students study every year in America. They help American university schools make money, and then these people go to China, and that's all like interchangeability of capital. That's why it's like the market for education services is big, so huge.
They choose education in America, and they go to China.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, because when you have the best of the best, so you go there. You have high-tech education, you have access to technology, to the best teachers, professors, to the best technologies, and then people go there and spread the word out, set up their own university schools. For example, nobody could think that 50 years ago that Singapore or Hong Kong universities would be better than many American and Japanese universities.
Furthermore, these countries have the best human capital index.
Absolutely, that's the point. So you cannot make human capital infrastructure excellent within 5 or 10 years. You have to work hard. That's should be a part of the strategy, long-term strategy of a country. But if you believe that these are like STEM, science, mathematics, chemistry, physics, natural sciences, they are very, very important. So if a country believes that that's part of the development strategy, go for it. Create universities, open and invite all universities to set up their own branches in your own country. And that is a good export of services, educational services from America at the same time that benefits the global economy.
Yes, so to make a conclusion of our talk, what are the 3 key factors for human capital in 2022?
Revision of educational services. Essentially, we believe that the old pattern is changing and many more things rely on self-education and lifelong learning. Secondly, the nature of learning and the qualities that are required from the workforce are changing. You have to be IT guy, you have to be good at communication, you have to employ soft skills. When somebody, HR guy, talks to you, he definitely doesn't just look at your CV, he goes and searches your Facebook page, your Twitter, your Instagram, so in order to understand what kind of a person you are. And the third factor is that workforce or human capital is the most productive. It is not only part of the employee. It must be a stakeholder and stockholder. So essentially, when we talk about stakeholder capitalism in general, so that means that sharing your wealth and being part of the company project incentivize you more than just a salary. So essentially, these are the trends that I observe in this year in the human capital area.
Yeah, a lot of experts say is that this is a time from adaptation to progress, so 2022. And now I have quick questions for you about you. It calls, improvised brain questions. How did you find your first client? It's quickly questions.
My first client, well, gosh, I have no idea. I forgot what it was, long time ago. One of my relatives or one of my friends was my client, definitely.
Oh, okay. Great. And what did you do?
I was in business, and essentially I traded. That was the time when when we emerged as we learned entrepreneurship in general. That is why we imported goods, we sold goods, and that's how it all started.
So it was, I think, in 90s.
Exactly.
Why did you become an economist?
I became interested in human capital, in human mind, in human being. And for me, an economist is not somebody who deals with numbers, mathematics, different equations. A good economist is somebody who understands values and incentives. These are much more important than any numerical numbers or graphs in econometrics.
So what is your best economic advice?
Best economic advice is to essentially you have to understand yourself and see yourself as a bunch of functions. You are a manufacturer. In order to manufacture goods, you have to have some skills. That's education comes first. Then you are a consumer. You want to get the best balance of price quality. So essentially, you have to produce something that consumer that yourself would buy, and definitely treat others as it's like a biblical thing, as you wish them to treat you. And finally, my parents taught me a very valuable lesson, which many people forgot in America. Save at least 10% of each income you make.
Save 10%.
And that is why, and invest wisely. And this is the way for other people, little guys, big guys, to have additional capital for development.
Yeah, but what is the best time management advice?
Management advice. Well, Time management. Well, time is manage your company in the way that you have the desired number of hours for leisure, for friends, for family. Otherwise, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That's a wonderful, idiom to describe your time management. You cannot manage all the work. You cannot manage all the work yourself, so delegate, get time, and essentially when you set this time frame for yourself, again, don't cheat yourself with the time change. For example, if you have something else to complete for today and there is no time, and okay, I move another 2 hours, steal it from my family. Steal it from my family. No way, don't steal your free time from yourself.
Thank you, Yaroslav, for this interview. It was amazing to have you here, and to see you very soon.
Thank you. All the best.
So that's all. I would like to remember you that I had an economist, Jaroslav Romanchuk, in the studio. So see you very soon.